I'll do it like this. I'll do it while I spin. Make it
So,
harder.
Cassidy, we have a problem.
Okay.
On any given day, there are at least 3 different parties who know what websites you're going to.
Google.
Well, the first one would be your internet service provider.
And then Google.
The second one would be your website that you're actually going to, which could be Google. And the third one is your DNS, which stands for domain name server, and that's where your computer goes to find the IP address of the website it's going to. Now, Google has a domain name server which you can access, and therefore Google would know which website you're going to.
Google.
So it's Google, yeah.
Yeah, they're evil.
Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to use Ubuntu server to create our own DNS and remove one of those people from knowing which websites we're going to.
Google.
We're going to be using Ubuntu server, distro 20.04.2. We have in Ubuntu server running on just an Oracle box VM right now.
Is it the black square?
Yeah, that'd be the black square.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
now put the mouse down because we're not actually going to be able to use that at all for the entire time.
What? Is this a typing thing? You know how bad I am at typing. This is going to take an hour.
This is a typing thing.
Oh, good God. Strap in, folks. We'll be here all day.
Don't worry, I've written down all the commands we're going to need in the script here, so you can just copy and paste.
I'm not going to do good at this.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I do?
So you have to use the keyboard for this. So navigation is the up and down, left, right arrows, and then enter. So we're going to select language as English. Enter again. Okay, now take note of that IP address.
Okay.
10.0.2.15. That's going to be the IP address of our machine. And that's going to be the IP address that we point our wireless router to towards using as the DNS.
I'm not going to remember any of those numbers.
That's okay. We can look that up later using a very simple command.
Okay.
So just enter. We don't have a proxy address, so we're gonna skip this just to enter. We're gonna skip this too. Okay, now we're gonna use the entire hard disk for this. Now, Ubuntu server only uses 55 gigabytes of storage space,
Okay.
and if you have more storage space than that, it simply won't use it.
Okay.
So if you're using a VM for this, just set the storage space to be 55 or 56 gigabytes. And if you're running bare metal, use a small hard drive. All right. Now just enter, down, and continue. That's just a warning that it's going to erase all the data on our hard drive. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
So now type in your name.
My name?
Okay. All right. Now, what do you want to name the server? Hades. Okay. Now pick a username. But you can't use admin and you can't use root. And you can't use any capital letters. Demon Daddy. I like it. Okay.
I've been watching a lot of BookTube. That's a term that they use on BookTube a lot, is Demon Daddy.
Okay. All right.
Oh, da-da-da.
Just make it password.
I am.
Okay.
Well, it's not that, but it's something else.
You're not going to forget this, are you?
It's Persephone.
Okay, fine. Down. Done. Okay, we are going to install OpenSSH server. This is going to allow us to remote into the machine should we need to, very simply, which is makes it really easy to do all these installs and things because you can just copy paste using your SSH of choice. Mine is PuTTY, but you can use whatever you want. So hit the spacebar to select install OpenSSH. Okay, go all the way down to done. Enter. Okay. Now we're not going to install any of this because we're not going to be using this for any sort of programming or anything. So all the way down to done and hit enter. Okay. Now it's just going to install. This is going to take about 5 minutes.
I hope those words mean things to other people.
Okay, so now we're going to log into our server using the administrator name and password you used before. Okay, now enter. Now type in your password. Okay, great. We're into our server.
Cool.
Now we begin.
Demon Daddy at Hades.
Yeah.
Hades is a demon daddy too.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to update our apt repository.
Okay.
So you're going to type sudo apt update. It's not apt-get on this distro of Linux. So just get rid of the hyphen as well. Space. Just update.
Well then why did you type it over there?
I apologize. Go ahead and hit enter.
Because I can barely...
Now type in your password again. Okay. Now it's going to update the apt repository. Okay. So now run sudo apt upgrade. Now what this is going to do is it's going to actually install the upgrade. So hit Y for yes, enter.
I know what Y means.
Thank you. That's good. I'm proud of you.
N is confusing.
The letter N is confusing? Well, it's a big Y and a little N.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually matter, though.
Well, apparently not, because I typed in a little Y.
Okay. So now, there are 3 apps that we need to install.
Okay.
The first one is Ranger, which adds a visual file system to Ubuntu server, which is going to make navigating to all the files we need a lot easier. So we're going to type sudo apt install and then the word Ranger. Enter. Hit yes.
I'm a hacker now.
Yes, you are.
Am I?
Yes. Now.
Really?
Yes. Now we're going to install what's something called RESOLVCONF. Now what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to set permanent DNS name servers in Ubuntu. And sudo.
Demon Daddy Hades.
So we're going to type sudo apt install and then RESOLVCONF.
There's an E in resolve, but that's fine.
Just hit enter. Okay.
Oh,
Now.
it didn't do the Y thing.
No, it didn't. Now, the last one we're going to install is called bind9. And bind9 is going to be our actual DNS. So sudo apt install bind9. bind9. And hit enter.
I am working on it. Don't pressure me.
Now, yes? Okay.
It's not working.
It's kind of a big thing, so it's going to take a minute. So sudo reboot is what we're going to type.
Why does it say reboot, like sudo? Because, sudo doesn't, I don't understand.
So you know how like in Microsoft Windows, in order to run something as an administrator with high-level privileges?
No, I don't.
Okay. Sudo and root are what you put in front of a command to let it know to run it as high level. So it allows you to change system files and things like that.
Yeah, but why is it sudo, do you know? Or is it just that that's
I don't know.
what it is? Because that's not what sudo means. Oh, that's also not how you spell that, sudo, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, the guy who wrote the guy who wrote Linux is not American. He's from New Zealand or something, or he's from the Netherlands or some such. So
they do speak English in New Zealand, but it's fine.
Yeah, they also speak Dutch.
Am I supposed to type in Demon Daddy?
Yeah, so go ahead and log back in. He's not from New Zealand. Linus Torvalds is not from New Zealand. He's from the Netherlands somewhere. I want you to type sudo
Spelled incorrectly, but it's fine.
space ranger. Okay, hit enter, and now type in your password. Okay, now this is what Ranger looks like. This is our file system. We're going to use Ranger, and we're going to navigate to the etc file, and then bind, and then default options.
Okay.
It's this file here, named .conf.options. And when we hit enter on it, it's going to ask us to use an editor. We're going to choose Nano. Now hit enter.
What if I did it with all of that?
It wouldn't have done anything. Okay. So now we need to edit this file.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to navigate over to options.
Can I do it like Wanda?
No, Cassidy, you cannot do it like Wanda. You have to use the thing.
Okay.
The arrows. Navigate over to options. Yeah, so you want to go to the very beginning of options, and we're going to hit enter. Okay, now above that, we're going to type ACL space, open quotation marks,
Oh.
and then you're going to type trusted, and then close the quotation mark. Okay, now space again, and we're going to do... What is this one called?
The bottom one?
Yeah, not the bracket, but the one above it.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, so shift and...
Squiggly line!
It's one of those. It's this on the keyboard. I don't know what it's called, but it's next to it's these two next to P. And it's not the bracket, it's the squiggly line, so you're going to have to use shift.
Line.
Okay, so now hit space.
Woo.
Or actually, no, you don't need to hit space, so backspace. Okay, so in this
Squiggly
section,
line.
within the squiggly line, you're going to type the address of your wireless router. Now, the address of our wireless router is 192.168.1.1.
Okay, go back to...
92.168.1. Okay, so we've created our access control list, and we've named it trusted, and we've added the IP address of our router into the trusted category. We're also going to add a couple other clients or lists that we want to be able to use the trusted option with. So the first one of those is we're going to add we're going to add to our trusted list local hosts and local nets. And we're going to separate each of these by a semicolon. Okay? Local hosts, semicolon, and then local nets, and then one more semicolon, another little squiggly line here to close, and then a semicolon after that. You have make sure you separate everything by semicolon here. Okay. So now we're going to come down below this directory, and we're going to enter, and we are going to add a few lines here. Now, we want this to be a recursive DNS, so we're going to add the line recursion space yes, then semicolon. We're going to allow hyphen recursion. Then we're going to do another squiggly line, and we're going to say that the trusted clients can do recursion. Semicolon after trusted. The trusted clients can do recursion. Now we're also going to allow queries. So we want to allow queries to the outside world, to caching, etc. To be able to find IP addresses. Little squiggly line there. Add this to trusted, and then another semicolon, squiggly line, semicolon. Alright. Now, at this point, we are actually completely done. At this point, we're actually completely finished. We've done all we need to do here. Now, if this is where we make the decision if we want it to be a recursive DNS or a forwarding DNS. So if you would like it to be a forwarding DNS, all you have to do is comment out these 3 lines. Erase those 2 slashes. That means that they are no longer comments, they're actual code that we want the computer to use. And we would add our DNS servers that we want to use here. So these would be the name servers we want to forward our traffic to. These could be anything you want. You could even set this to be your router, and it would just loop forever. So if you decide you want it to be a forwarding DNS, this is where you add your DNS servers you want to use. You add the first one here, and then on the other side of the semicolon, you'd add the next one, and then that would be it. Now, we don't want to use any sort of DNS forwarding, so we are actually going to make these lines comments once more, and we are now done. So we're going to hit Control-O to save, Enter, and Control-X to quit, and then Q to exit out of Ranger there. Okay, so now we have successfully created a DNS using bind. What we want to do is make sure that it's actually working. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this is my actual DNS that I use. So first you just want to run a ping to something. We'll use Google. And you want to make sure that it can actually reach the internet. So that's good. Alright, Control-C to end. Now we want to make sure we're just going to run a simple dig trace command to google.com. And this is that's another command you can run. Now, the last thing that I like to do on my DNS is, it's actually on a laptop, and it's just sitting next to the router and the screen's open all the time. So I like to run sudo tcp dump. And what this does is it monitors all the traffic going out to the internet, and in real time will show it to you. And the cool thing is when you go to the internet on your cell phone or something, you can actually watch it going to that website. Now, the last thing that we need to do in order to get our DNS actually functioning is to log into our router's web page here. Mine is 192.168.1.1. Log in with your username and password, and we go to the router. I'm obviously running DDWRT, which is a custom firmware for your router. But regardless of what router you're using, this is going to be very similar. This is going to be very similar. So I'm just going to come to Setup, Basic Setup, and right here we have our DHCP DNS settings. I've just set static DNS 1 to the IP address of my server, my DNS server. As you remember from when we did our setup, it just assigned the static IP address, and I just pulled that out and put that in. You can find that out in Linux. If you're on Linux, you can find out what the static IP address is simply by typing in the word IP space address This is the easiest way to make sure that your all your devices on your internet are actually using the DNS you want them to, 192.168.1.22. The other thing you can do is you can actually manually point every single device on your network to your own DNS server. Usually I just point my devices on my network to my router for a DNS, which then points towards my DNS server that I have running. You can really do it whatever way you want.
Don't start it again.
Well, do the thing.
I don't remember what I said. This is a public service announcement. You should like and subscribe as fast as you can. Have you heard of COVID-19? Well, I don't have that, but I think I have COVID 2021, and I'm not sure how long I have left. So like and subscribe as fast as you can.